Hey guys, welcome to this month's training roundup, whatever you want to call it, on self-care and how we can really implement that as busy moms. I wanted to make sure we highlighted this in the club, especially this time of year, because it's really important. Because we are the ones who are usually leading the ship, right? And when we're feeling burnt out, when we're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, we have some anxiety, those kinds of things can tend to keep that ship going off course. And to keep this ship sailing forward, we need to take care of ourselves. And this time of year is super hard to do that because we are taking care of a lot of other people, but then add on top of that holidays, extra events that we love to attend and we get to this year a little bit more than the past. Even just things such as I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but all these organizations we're involved in, whether it's like kids sports or your workplace or things that maybe hobbies that you enjoy, all of them want to do something for the holidays, and it involves a gift exchange, or it involves money, or it involves donations, or it involves a party. There's a lot of things. So this time of year, I really felt like self-care was important to talk about and highlight because, when you talk more about these things and you start to bring them to front of mind, then you might be a little more apt to think about it in those times of stress. So when you know better, you do better. If it's front of mind, you're able to make some of those decisions. So we're here in this last week of December heading into 2023. And first of all, I can't believe that's the case, but also we're kind of in that in-between limbo a week between Christmas and New Year's, where you may be able to feel the little bit of relaxation after the busyness and hustle and bustle of the holidays in the last few weeks. But you're heading into that overwhelm stage where you're like, oh crap, all of the stuff that's come into our house that need to find a home, all of the Christmas decorations. And then because you've been out late and at parties and things, you probably feel a little bit off with your nutrition and you probably feel a little bit blah just in your mood. But then you also have to feel like you have to catch up on these other chores and things because you're just not in your normal rhythm. And maybe your kids are really feeling the effects of not being in their normal rhythm. So there's all of those factors. But at the end of the day, the thing that needs to stay, the thing that needs to be consistent is us, right? We have to be able to show up for our family. So we can only do that when we take care of ourselves. So I thought it was really important to kind of do a little bit of a roundup and a chat about what that might look like this week, this time of year, how we can fit that in. So I want to talk about a couple of points here, and hopefully this can really help to keep it front of mind again, like I said, and you can find those things that might help you. So the first thing I want to talk about is figure out what gives you energy as a mom, as a parent, as a person. And that can be really hard to do because we're not used to really reflecting sometimes on ourselves. And some of the things that I've learned that give me energy is to move my body, or to get up before my kids, even though I feel like I don't have the energy to do it. But once I do, I'm like, oh, frig, that's so good for me. I feel energized now to tackle the day because I got up on my own terms. Things that also give me energy is just sipping a cup of tea in the quiet, or laying down for 20 minutes with just a podcast and just no interruptions during my low energy time. Or something else that really gives me energy is to show up here in the club, to do I feel more energetic doing this kind of thing. And a lot of times those things that give us energy, it feels like it takes a lot of energy, the momentum to get going to do it. But then we just take off with it, right? So take a few minutes and really, maybe you want to journal this, maybe you just want to internally think, but what are those things that leave you feeling filled up, recharged, and not depleted and burnt out? So you want to have the opposite feeling of what we feel like doing with most of the things we do each day. So I kind of made a little cheat sheet and made a little list on my phone, because when I am in that overwhelmed state, I am unable to think clearly about that. So I need the options there, right? Some hints for you that might be helpful is that self-care bingo that I posted at the beginning of the month. Now, if you hadn't taken part in the self-care bingo, that's no problem. You can go back now and think about your month kind of as a reflection and check off some of those things you did, or put X's on them, and see if you were able to fill your bingo card. And I'm happy to send a prize out to somebody who's filled that card. So I will check in with that this week. and remind you, but they're really good ideas too about like how you can recharge yourself. And sometimes they don't take long. And that is what my point number 2 is. We do not need a lot of time to recharge our batteries. As moms, we're really resilient and we're really adaptable. And the benefit of that is when we know we got a 10-minute break to, I don't know, run to the store on our own, do that thing that fills you up so that you can like come back recharged, whether it's blasting that music up the vibe jams, or getting a nice cup of tea on your drive to pick up your groceries, or just sitting in the silence or listening to a good podcast that you like. Some of those things you can do along with other things you have to do that help you to recharge. And my point to that is that it doesn't have to take long. You really need just a short amount of time. But the purpose of it is that you're being intentional with recognizing that this is self-care. So, throwing in a podcast while you're doing the dishes and drowning out the background noise can be self-care. And doing that when you come at it as like an intentional mindset thing, it really does help to recharge your batteries. And then you recognize, okay, I am taking little moments for myself today. And the point of that is it does not have to take long to do that. So sometimes I feel like we were brought up to think like, oh, we need to have a complete night to ourselves or a long, hot hour-long bath to like recharge. But like reality is we just don't have that. So how are we going to recharge with what we have? And it's all about mindset. And that takes me to point number 3, being intentional about doing these things. Really, like the way, if you say like, okay, well, the day's just gone and I haven't even thought to like sit down and take a breath. And then at the end of the day, I'm so cranky and I'm snapping at my kids and I'm putting them to bed because I'm just done. I'm spent. And you finally get a chance to sit down like after you've eaten supper and your body just gives in. They're like, we're done. And then so does your mind. And you're just like not showing up as the mom you want to be for your kids before they go to bed at night. That's my experience. I then have to say, okay, that's on me because I did not take the time I needed to like recharge my batteries. And now I'm depleted and I'm working on an empty tank. And that's why I'm coming at my kids like this. So the way to do that is to be intentional. And I'll tell you, if you come at that at your top 3 in the morning, of one of them being like a way to recharge your batteries, one of those top 3s, you're going to feel more in alignment, feel more patient, more energetic, more connected with your kids. But it takes intentional thought to do that. And then number 4, it means you have to practice it. So some of these things that we say we want to do, we really don't do often enough to make it a habit. And so if you had listened to this month's member exclusive podcast with Heather from Habit Maker Mama, she talks about making these, and you have to follow her, by the way, because she has all these ideas I'm talking about right in her account. But she talks about making self-care a habit, little things that build over time. And we all know this, right? It's the same with eating well or exercising or whatever the chore is, right? When we do it little by little, we take micro actions towards self-care, for example. And these little micro actions will build our momentum. And then it seems a little easier and a little easier. And then before we know it, we're pushing this massive snowball up a hill that we've taken little baby steps towards, rather than sitting at the bottom of the hill thinking, how the heck am I getting up there? Or sitting at the bottom of the hill thinking, I don't have an hour to do self-care today or to take care of myself. But we do have 2 minutes, right? You could throw on that Calm app. I don't know if you have it, or Headspace is another one. Do a little quick meditation, listening to a song that pumps you up. We have an Alexa in our kitchen. And when I'm kind of feeling like I need to up the vibe, I have a good jam. I can't even say the name. I think I say it wrong every time, but it's Boom by Tasso. I don't even know if that Alexa recognizes when I say that. So I'm sure that's kind of similar to whatever, but that just gets us going. And then we all just up the vibe. So that only takes 2 minutes. But the point behind it is that we're being intentional and we're practicing it over and over again, because it does become easier. And like anything, I want to stress that like none of this stuff is an all or nothing. Like we're never going, like right now, this week, I've not been great at taking care of myself in some respects, definitely not taking care of my body and what I've been putting in it, or even my thoughts. I've noticed, because I've been taking care of my body so well with exercise and what I'm eating, my thoughts are really negative of like, oh, you shouldn't wear that. Oh, you feel gross. Oh, like, those kinds of negative feelings. And I have to interrupt that. But on the daily, like pretty well in my normal routine, I'm not really thinking along those lines anymore, because I put a lot, and I'm talking about a lot of work into changing that mindset. But when we're not in routine, we can see that these things kind of slip. And that's okay if you're feeling that, because we all know that January comes and we're in a rebirth and we're really ready to tackle and rein things in, as I like to say. So just rest assured that that's coming, and notice in the past that that's probably happened for you year after year. So if you're not feeling there right now and you're feeling a little stressed and overwhelmed with all the things that have to happen, first of all, understand that you've showed up in the past. You've showed up every other year. You're going to show up again. So just let that stress go, because it'll get done. The Christmas tree always gets put away, right? You do it. And then think about practicing self-care, ways to give yourself energy, right? That's another way to think about self-care. How do I create that energy for myself so that I can tackle these things? And really think back to these 4 tips, and I'll go over them again just to really help get you there. So first, figuring out what gives you energy and what leaves you feeling recharged. Make a list, check back to that self-care bingo that I mentioned in our group. And that things can be done in small bite-sized pieces. You do not have to have hour-long time to like get yourself self-cared up, right? You can do lots of time. The next thing will be intentional with it. So setting that in your top 3, thinking ahead of time what you can do to be intentional, when you can do it in your day, how you can fit it in. And then 4 is practicing it over and over, because it's never going to be something that feels natural to us moms. So taking the time to just practice it is really going to be important to having your body respond in a relaxed state to some of these things, because we're trained against some of that, right? Our whole lives. So you're retraining your brain, you're reframing your thoughts, you're shifting your mindset. These are all really important things and hard things to do. So that's why I'm really pleased with the Moms Get Shit Done Club. We're able to come in here together and really talk about it. So I appreciate you. And I wanted to just announce what's happening next month. So next month, we're really focusing on systems, but through finances. And this is the time of year kind of that we all like to think about that, but having a system in place like that can really be, can help lessen overwhelm and not be a burden. So it's just one other massive piece of our lives where a system can be super helpful. So I thought it'd be a great month to do that. And I'm bringing in my really great friend, Heidi Ramore, who is my financial person. She's going to do an amazing presentation for us, and you're not going to want to miss it, because I'm telling you, it's everything you're probably looking for. And it was this time last year where I joined forces with her, and I just feel it's such a better headspace about it, regardless of what our financial situation looks like right now. Your mindset, she will tell you, is so important when it comes to this stuff. But this time this year, a year out from when I started, I just don't have the stress. And who knows if my financial situation might not be any different or any worse or any better, or it might be a whole lot better and a whole lot, easier, but it's just that my mindset has shifted. And she will talk to us a lot about that, but also the practicalities of what we need to do, the step-by-step. So that's going to be so amazing this month coming up in January. So share with your friends. And we have a great promo coming for those members who are going to join. So if you know of anybody that's on the fence about joining the Moms Get Shit Done Club, they're not going to want to miss it. Anyway, I hope you are finding some time for self-care and you're enjoying this little limbo week between Christmas and New Year's, when who knows what the heck day it is. But I appreciate you for showing up and listening to this training today. And I very much appreciate you. And I can't wait to jump into 2023 with you. Take care.